Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. This is Dallas Piana for Coaching Scaling Secrets. I help coaches get leads, make sales, get clients online using Facebook and email marketing. So, welcome to the Facebook Live, the first one of 2022. Here we are. I'm loving this year just because of all the twos. I think of partnership, unity, collaboration, sharing. It just twos have always been a fabulous number for me. And also in the cards of destiny, which is something my sister does, my husband is a two. He's a two of diamonds. So hop in. Hi, everyone who's coming in. Just say hi below. If you're watching the replay, just say hashtag replay. And of course, if you have said that you could maybe make this live, we will circle around after the live and we will tag everyone in that. So that's something new we're doing. So if you can't make it, just when we shoot out the event, if you have been invited and you can't make it and you want to be tagged after the event, just say maybe for the event and then we'll come around, we'll tag you later. Okay, so let's get right to it. So today, one of the things, several weeks ago, I did a poll, right? I did a poll right here in the group, and one of the top items which people wanted information about or training about was this one: how to create content that nurtures and converts your audience into paying clients. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that today. Number one, so this is called content, posting content, doing is called content marketing, right? You're marketing using content, okay? This is a long game. This is not a once and done. This is something that you need to do every day, posting content out there on this platform, Facebook. And I also do email almost every day on email. If you've been following me on email, I get actually better response on email than I do through Facebook. It's incredible. But you want to be posting every day, okay? It's the compound effect over time that is going to nurture your audience. And then as you promote your programs and services or products, people will raise their hand and say yes, they will buy. But it's not a once and done. You can't just, throw out a promotion and say buy my stuff and people are going to jump in and buy it. It doesn't work that way, okay? So you need the long game. And the long game is with content. Now, there are so many different types of content that you can put out there. And, maybe you have already bought my 60 plus content ideas. If not, I'm revising it. If you want it, just put 60 plus below in the comments and I'll be sure to get it to you so that you can purchase it. It's $7. It's version 2. I think I've had over 1,000 people buy that. So it's really great because you'll have ideas of what to post on, what kind of content to write. But today I'm gonna talk to you actually 4 types, okay? 4 types. All right. So the first one is value posts. Okay. Now value posts is really, you're going to take your program or your service and you're going to take a snippet of it and you're going to talk about it. Okay. And you can do it in something like pro tips. Like, here are the 3 ways to do XYZ, or this is why this is better than that. So something of value, something that is helpful or useful for your audience, and you want to give a little short synopsis of what that is. Not a long drawn out thing, just short, to the point. Remember, people are scrolling on their phone, right? They're scrolling in it. If they see 3 or 5 or 11 tips, things like that, they grab the attention. For some reason, numbers grabs the attention of people because they think, ooh, just 3 tips, just 5 tips. That's all I need. They will stop and they will watch and they will read, okay? So that is a type of value post. There are all kinds of types of value posts. There are strategy types. There are tactics types. There are what kind of tools you can, the best resources and tools that you recommend. I mean, and I go through all that in the 60 plus guideline content ideas. So again, if you're interested, just, drop the 60 plus below and I'll get you the link to that. But so just to get you started, you want to look at what are you offering to your clientele, okay? What is your program? And so you can take little pieces of your program and turn it into a value post, okay? The idea of content is to get them to know, like, and trust you. Know you so that you're visible. That's why we post every day or 5 times a week, all right? Like you because some people are going to jive with you and others are not. Okay, so here, I have over 1,600 people on here. A percentage, 10%, 20% will connect with me. The rest will not. And they will move on to someone else. Okay. And that's okay. So, but how do people get to know me? But through these lives, right? Or through my content, how what I write, okay? Or what I tell in a story format, okay? And then the other part of that formula, know, like, trust, is you're beginning to trust me. Oh, she knows what she's talking about. Oh, yeah, that's clear. So I'm showing that I'm credible. I know what I'm talking about. I have a history. I have 10 years in marketing and sales experience, so you're getting to trust me so that you raise your hand to buy either my low-end offers, my midline offers, or my high-end offers, okay? There's all types of people that are buying things from me, but it's through my content that they are converting. Okay, so one type is the value post. All right, someone write that down in the comments below. Is this making sense? Let me make sure I'm on here. I didn't check oh yeah, good. Okay, here we are. Good. Okay, so value posts. The next one is you want to be doing posts of celebrations of wins of your clients. Okay. I'm such a, stickler for, you see some of these coaches online and all they are doing is saying, I made $10,000 last month. I did this, I did that, I did this and that. You want to learn how? I'm more interested in what did your clients do? Okay. Did your clients make $10,000 a month? Are they filling their Facebook group with you? Are they, or any other coach, if you're a healthcare coach, what are your clients doing? Are they losing weight? Are they toning up? Are they changing their diet? Those are the things you want to celebrate. Okay. And you want to showcase. I prefer that rather than, the hype of, somebody can just really make it up that they've made $10,000, $8,000 a month. And maybe it was one time a fluke. Is it over time? So I'd rather know, how are you serving your clients? So posts, if you notice, I post a lot about or share a lot about what my clients are doing. I do that through my workshops. I kind of showcase them. And I also do it here. I showcase my clients' wins, okay, in story posts, in shout out posts. I interview them, all those types of things. So that's what you want to also do, okay? That you're planting a seed in your reader's mind that, ooh, there is success here with Dallas. Dallas does produce results, okay? So that's what you want to generate in the minds of your readers, that you can get results. Now, if you're just getting started, one of the things we do in my programs is we do a free call, a strategy call, in exchange for a testimonial, so that you start to build up reviews and testimonials until you start getting your own from people actually working with you. Okay, so that is a way to get wins and start to post wins. Okay. So that is number 2. Number 3 is story posts, and I'm going to come back to that because I want to spend some time on stories. And the 4th one, of course, is promotion content. Okay, you want to be promoting your products and services in your content routinely. Okay, I also do it through email routinely. So the best way to do it is at least once every other week. Okay, if you're posting 5 days, 7 days a week, You can promote your content or your programs, or I'm sorry, you can promote your program, service, or product every other week. Okay, sometimes if you're under 1,000 people on in your group. Now if you're over 1,000, like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 10,000, you can be selling or promoting every week. Okay, because there's more people that will be seeing your information. There's just a lot more going on. There are a lot more people in your feed, so you can definitely be promoting almost every week, sometimes twice a week. Okay, but in the beginning, you want to be at least promoting your program, service, products every other week, either in content. And we've talked about that, invitations to work with you. How do I work with you? Really flush it out. I want to read about it. I want to read about how do I work with you rather than getting on a discovery call to see if we're a good fit. That's too scary for most people. Okay, so write out how it is, what is the invitation to work with you? What is it going to look like? Okay, we go through all those steps when you work with me in my programs. Okay, what that post looks like. But you want to lay it out. What is it going to look like? How long is it? What am I going to get out of it? What are the results? How much does it cost? What is the framework? Okay, people want to read about that. I'm a stickler for that. Think about it, and I've used this before. When you buy something from Amazon, don't you go and read every single review and read everything you can about the product or service? Or even when you're working with a coach, don't you try to find everything out about that person before you spend the money? Okay, they want that from you as well. So you want to have promotional posts. Okay, definitely. Now, let's spend the majority of this time, we're already at 12 minutes, majority of the time talking about story posts. You need to incorporate story posts into your content. Now, what is a story post? A story post is an experience, yours or somebody else's experience, okay? Stories are, you want to kind of stir up some emotion through sharing a story or experience, because people buy based on the emotion they're feeling, okay? And the emotion of either wanting something or not wanting the feeling anymore, and therefore they buy, okay? People buy 80% of the time based on how they feel rather than how they think. They may justify the purchase with logic, but people buy based on emotion. Therefore, you want to inject at least once a week a story post into your content strategy. Okay, so what kind of stories? So I have a list here. One, obviously, you can share a story or an experience about your program, your product, your service. Why did you start your product? Why did you start your program? Okay, what is the origin of it? Where were you before you did it? Why did you decide to start a program? Okay, who do you want to help? What kind of impact do you want to make? You can talk about your successful clients more, not in a celebration post, but a more of a, where they were to where they got to when working with you. Okay, we talk about it from A to B, right? And your program is the gap between there of how the bridge of how they moved from where they are to where they want to be. You also might hear it as Hell Island to Heaven Island. Okay, the movement. Talk about the journey. What was the aha? What was the shift? I talk about that a lot when I showcase my clients. This is where they were. Okay, spinning their wheels, working with coaches, not getting anywhere. Okay, going through my program step by step. I'm holding their hand as they go through it with let's say the higher end program where we're in contact on a weekly basis or more, and where they are today. Okay, so those are kind of story posts you want to incorporate into your strategy. Okay, so your product, your program, your successful clients. Another story or experience post, which I love, is the unique way how you help people. Okay, There are definitely many other business coaches out there like me, okay, that help people move from where they are to where they want to be, okay? Why am I different? How am I different? Okay? I know from my clients and interviewing them, going through my programs, one of the things that keeps coming up over and over again is that my program is, I break it down into very layman terms so you understand why you're doing what you're doing, okay? And it is a program that they're building blocks. You build on each one, each activity you do for a while until you get good at it, then we add something else. Then you get good at that, we add something up. So it's a compound effect until you start promoting and then getting clients. So, my program is very systematic, okay? And there is a lot of hand holding along the way, okay? It is a process of step-by-step procedures. Okay, you're not on your own, all right? So you want to talk about what is your unique way, okay? Or maybe you have a unique process, a system. Maybe what's different about you? How do you stand out from the crowd, okay? You want to share that in a story post, okay? All right, we already talked about the journey from A to B. Another good story post or experience post is why your program works. Why does your program work? Okay, if people do the work, why does it work? Okay, if people don't do the work, we know it won't work, right? But why does it work? It kind of ties back to the unique method of how your program is set up. Okay, so you can talk about that. You could write about that. You could talk about that. Another great story is to kind of bust open the myths in your industry. There are generally, 5 myths that kind of haunt industries. So you kind of talk about a story that kind of busts the myths right open. So that's another great story to share. And another one I love to talk about are what are the mistakes people are making to get the result in your industry. Okay, what, the people that are trying to get from A to B, what are the mistakes that they're doing and they're not getting to the result they want. Okay, talk about that. That brings up a lot of emotion in people because they're desperate or they're trying to get there and they're not reaching it. What's happening? What is the breakdown in their system or their process? Okay, so that's another story or experience you want to share. The point is, in these stories, you want to create a feeling. Okay, you want to draw people into the story. And stories last in our heads much longer than facts. Okay, I can tell you if someone tells me a story, about what happened, I'm more likely to share it with my husband, a story, rather than reading facts and figures that I read on the internet. I'm less likely to remember those and be able to articulate that. So stories kind of hook into our brains and they last there much longer. So you definitely want to inject stories into your content marketing strategy. So is this making sense? Hi, Angie. How are you doing? So those are 4 we talked about. Okay. There's so many things you can write content on, okay, that you can write about, okay, that will draw your readers in, your audience into you, warm them up to you until they're ready to buy. Remember, people are on a journey. Some people are just, kind of snooping around. Is there a solution? They're not ready to buy yet. And people need to really experience you over time until they are ready and trust you enough to say, I want your product and service or your program. I want to work with you. I'm serious now. Okay. So you want to have a variety of different content pieces that go out. And I suggest when you're just starting out, you want more content going out than less. So at least once a day, If you can do twice a day, 3 times a day with different types of posts, that's great. But at least once a day until you kind of build momentum. And you will build momentum. In the beginning of everything, it's much more work. And then after a while, you've got content that you can kind of like furbish and put out again. Okay. So just in review, we talked about value posts, like pro tips are great. Okay. Sharing pro tips. 3 tips to do this, 5 ways to do that, the proven 10 ways to do XYZ. Why X is better than Z. Things that are useful for people and easy to consume and read in a content as they're scrolling through their phone. Okay. We talked about you've got to share people's success, people that work with you. There's celebrations or wins, testimonials. You want to share those. Okay. Those will drip into your readers so they see, oh, she can produce results. All right. Then we talked about launch post, promotion post. You've got to be sharing at least every other weeks in some format, either on Facebook or through email to your list, about how it is, how can people work with you. All right. So, if you want to work with me, you can DM me over in Messenger, okay? Or you can respond to one of my emails and you can say, "Can I have a conversation with you? This is where I'm stuck. This is where I want to go." And I can tell you what I have and I can offer it to you, okay? But there are other ways. What I do is in email and through post, strategically outlined in my calendar, I am offering invitations to work with me, okay, or to buy my products. For instance, today I'm saying to you, if you want to get my revised 60 plus content ideas ebook, you write 60 plus below and I'll be sure to get you the link. It's $7, okay? And you will never run out of ideas of what types of content to post on Facebook. Okay. Remember, this is a long game. It's the compound effect. Once you get going, you will see how it works. Okay. You will see that people respond to you. You will see what they don't respond to, what they do respond to. And, it ebbs and flows, sometimes you get tons of engagement. Other times you don't, and every day is a learning experience. Just get started. Just start. Okay. If it's easier in the beginning for me, it was easier just to do value posts that were tips in the beginning, okay, rather than to create stories. Okay, I started slowly with stories. But as you can see over time, I'm like, my email is full of stories. Okay, my posts are filled with stories. All right. So I've kind of made a shift into stories. But in the beginning, it was easier for me to do tips. 3 ways to do this, 5 ways to do that. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. Okay. So you got to find your own rhythm, but you just have to start. Just have to start. Okay, you guys. So I hope this is making sense. I will definitely contact you if you reach out to me in the DMs. I will definitely follow up with you, and I will see you next week on next week's live. Bye.